In this video, we're going to show you how to lay out your fence and dig the post holes. Hi, welcome to Fence Installation Tips. Now, the steps I show you in this video will work for just about any kind of fence: wood, vinyl, aluminum, steel, and chain link. Now, if you haven't already seen the first video in this series, choosing and planning your fence, you'll want to do that first. You can find it at lowes.com/videos. Okay, on to the layout. Now, typically, you want to start your fence at the house or some other hardscape feature. Now, I'm going to lay out the sides of my fence using batter boards and mason string. At the corners, I'll cross the lines like this. I'll measure for each run of my fence, setting batter boards, and working my way back to the other side of the house. If you're building a panel fence, like we are, it's best to measure your layout so you're using full panels on every run. Now, if that's not possible, plan on cutting the panels that are at the corners. And if your fence lines up with the corner of your house and you're putting your rails on the outside of the posts, make sure you set your strings back so that your panels or pickets are flush with the side of the house. All right, now here's how to make sure your layout is perfectly square. You might need help from a friend with this. From the point of an outside corner, measure exactly 3 feet along one of the strings and make a mark. On the other string, measure exactly 4 feet and make a mark. Now measure the diagonal between those 2 points. It should be exactly 5 feet. If not, move one of the strings until it is. Then check all the other corners. All right, once your layout is all squared up, it's time to measure for your post holes. The panel manufacturer will specify post spacing. Now, typically that will be the width of the panel, plus the thickness of the brackets, and half the width of the posts. Some pre-built panels attach to the face of the post, so your post spacing would be just the width of the panels. Start at the outside of the corner and measure the recommended distance between the posts. Then mark each spot with a stake and keep the stakes up against the string. All right, but let's say your yard isn't level. What do you have to do? You want to start your post measurements at the highest point and work your way downhill. For a panel-built fence, measure horizontally like this, not along the slope. That'll give you a step look. You can use a level if necessary. But for a component-built fence, that is pickets that are attached individually, measure along the slope, since the rails will follow the contour of the land. And don't forget the gate. Factor in the width of the gate plus the hardware. Now, here's an important tip. If you're installing full panels, only mark and dig 3 to 4 post holes at a time. It'll help keep your spacing correct. But if you're installing a component fence with pickets attached to the rails, you can do all the holes at the same time. Okay, we've measured and staked out a few of our posts. Now we're getting ready to dig. Now, your depth and diameter will be determined by your local building codes, but typically the diameter is going to be 3 times the width of the post, and the depth will be just below the frost line. So with that in mind, we need to mark the center of our holes, which should be half the width of the post away from the string. You might want to mark your batter boards and remove the strings just to make digging easier. Next to the house, I'm going to use hand tools, a post hole digger, spud bar, and spade. But for the rest of the holes, I'm going to use a power auger. That really makes digging post holes a whole lot easier. For the next steps in installing your fence, watch Wood and Vinyl Fence Installation Tips, both available at lowes.com/videos. Time to get back to work.